Imagine that some of the taxes you pay go towards some people who have promised to protect you. Now imagine those people are reading newspapers and sipping coffee whilst one of their more focused colleagues slip past them with an explosive device. Would you still pay for this frivolous service? Everybody, welcome to the Transportation Security Administration. The TSA is yet another post-9/11 agency whose principal responsibility is to secure and strengthen the nation's transportation network. From cars coming and going across our borders to the planes landing on our airport's tarmacs, the TSA molests every passenger and their next of kin for anything that could be considered dangerous or threatening. Unfortunately, these security measures are rendered useless. As the introduction suggested, an undercover TSA agent with an improvised explosive device, or IED, stuffed in his pants bypassed two security screenings, including a pat-down at Newark Airport in New Jersey, and was granted clearance to board a commercial flight. The breach occurred on February 25, 2013, when the Transportation Security Administration's Special Operations Team, the agency's version of internal affairs, staged a mock intrusion at the airport. Whilst it could be reassuring that the TSA's internal security is testing its own security, it could be equally disturbing to discover that such ordinances could be snuck through without being noticed. Relating to last week's commentary addressing CISPA, the TSA appears to be nothing more than a calming measure, another mirage of security. With 60,000 employees and an annual budget exceeding $8 billion, one could rightfully conclude that the TSA should be able to spot an IED when it slithers across the border, but it can't. To date, the TSA hasn't stopped a single known terrorist, nor have they produced any truly welcoming results justifying their prodigious budget. $1 trillion in 12 years later, two objectives assigned and not a single one fulfilled. From its conception just 12 years ago, the Transportation Security Administration has embodied checkered responsibilities. Now, however, over 80% of the TSA's purview falls on aviation security, comprised of checking bags without permission, yet another Fourth Amendment violation, to air marshals covertly flying whilst wielding weapons. Representatives Darrell Issa and John Mica, in their respective roles as chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee and Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, have both participated in numerous joint hearings concerning the monstrous expenditures versus the minuscule benefits of the TSA's various safety initiatives. Advanced Imaging Technology, or AIT for short, is one of these significant programs. AIT is already in action, not only in the US, but indeed around the globe. If you've never been inside such a machine or you've never seen one in action, it's a truly degrading sight to bear witness. Once instructed, a victimized individual enters one of these federal vestibules without any baggage or footwear, surrenders their arms above their head, and what appears to be a bulky revolving door swings one way, then rehashes its path. Once complete, one steps out on the other side, collects their stolen property, and ensues to their obsessive pre-flight shopping spree. Oh, and when standing amidst an AIT, the agents can, and do, see you naked. That's not a joke. Afterward, when one is checking their bags into the hold, they are interrogated as to whether or not their luggage has been out of their possession for any length of time. Nearly everybody will say no, and that constitutes them liars. But if one were to tell the truth, that their luggage was out of their possession for 120 seconds during the invasive scanning process, what do you think would happen to Mr. and Mrs. Honest Joe? The delays of these fruitless and illusory measures are unwarranted. The carcinogenic effect of body scanners is woefully underplayed. The budget for such a large bureaucracy is simply unnecessary. And users' rights under these basic services are being swept beneath the rug. The ban on arbitrary items is gradually increasing too. Offenders of the banned list are simple, common-sense objects like knives. Yet boarding a flight with a 6-inch machine-cut screwdriver is permitted. I'm quite certain that one could impale another easily enough on either extreme of the spectrum, the consequences just as severe. Though a major proportion of the TSA's budget is delegated to aviation, the percentage is slowly eroding towards superlative highway surveillance via dangerous, widespread checkpoints. This Orwellian enactment may be perceived as a pretext to martial law. Whilst all else seems to be fine and dandy in the ignorant paradigmatic comfort zone, the authorities are fragmenting our civil rights. Typically, the imposition of a police state is actualized after the following restrictions. See if any ring a bell to you. Suspension of human rights. Gradual elimination of civil liberties. Curfews imposed on certain groups, ethnicities, or ages. Monitoring movement. Secret observation of communication such as mail, telephones, and now the internet. Is common sense no longer common? With such diverse foot traffic, employees, and staff, an airport can never be entirely secure. Never. So instead of launching new procedures to ensure the safety of the planes or the food, we are dehumanized and subjected to quasi-animal cruelty. Due to the Transportation Security Administration, your rights are no longer applicable within airport jurisdiction. You're not a mother or a brother, you're not a student or a lover, you're a social security number with a ticket number and a plane number upon which you have a seat number, and after a number of these numbers are tallied up, your safety is still that of pre-9/11. Hypothetically speaking, you were more likely to be killed 3 times by lightning, hit twice by an asteroid, and catch a mosquito-based deadly disease than you are of being the prey of terrorism. The TSA was supposed to be a temporary agency whose control and scope would gradually be absolved by their more established agencies like the FBI, CIA, and the rest of the alphabet soup. Unfortunately, since its dawn, the TSA's goals are extending no further than piquing the fear of terrorism. Very few people in power are willing to dissolve such a deep-rooted yet shallow, shadowy group. You and I are no longer handled as citizens. We're bound within the wretched handcuffs of nationalism and even treated as criminals until proven otherwise. We're sheepish livestock that officially have limited, vague rights, and they're only becoming fewer. We must take control. Opt out of radiating your body with carcinogens from body scanners, and don't let your voice be swallowed in the raging tides of tyranny. In liberty and vigilance, my friends, on behalf of Press for Truth, Andrew Demeter, signing off.